Hi, this is Ruby with MRV Financial. Thank you so much for joining us today on this beautiful Monday for our
Mhm.
topic of the week. As always, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to our social medias, and do please share with your
Sure.
friends and family as we have topics, educational topics for everybody's growth. For today's topic, we have a special guest. We have Jimmy. He is a realtor in LA, and he's going to talk to us about the real estate market today and any questions that we may have. You know, if you're looking to move to California, this would be a very good person to ask questions. So I have a few questions for him. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi. We started?
Yes, that was my
Oh,
intro.
okay. All right. Well, hello everyone. So I'm here to answer a couple questions and help you guys out with um, the questions that you guys may have for the housing market out here in Los Angeles and how it affects different places, the different areas. Each market is completely different, but I'm here to share my knowledge and my experience with you, and I hope that it can help you with any questions and any investments that you would choose to do in the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, thank you for having me, Ruby. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. You know, I think so that people know a little bit more about you. You are from Chicago, actually. So tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that. How did you end up in California? A lot of us want to go out there. When I say us, I have family, not necessarily me.
You know what? It was something that I did not plan. It was planned within the same week I moved out here to Los Angeles. So I was presented with an opportunity to come out to the West Coast, and I decided to take it. So at the time in Chicago, I was working at a company, and I presented the uh, request um, to my boss at the time, and I had told him that I'm thinking about moving and um, moving fast enough within like this was on a Monday. I had a conversation with them, and I told him that I was leaving on a Friday, and he gave me his his blessing. He said, you know what, if you go out to Los Angeles and it doesn't seem to work out, you're always going to have a job when you come back. And that pushed me more. So I said, all right, Friday came along. I clocked out of work and got in the car and drove out west. And now I'm over here. I've been here for a few years now, and it was a good decision. However, I do miss Chicago. I miss it consistently. Every time I fly back, I try to go back to Chicago at least 3 times a year.
Oh, nice.
But every time, huh?
I said nice.
Yeah, yeah. I can't let go. Chicago's always going to be home to me. And every time I am on the airport on the way back at O'Hare, it makes it harder each time when I have to fly back, just because it's like, Chicago's my home. All my friends are here. And, but I think that if I had gotten into the real estate market in Chicago, I probably wouldn't have moved out or left Illinois. But being in California, the only reason, I mean, the whole plan is one day to move back to Chicago. However, what that means to me would be that I'd have to start all over again, because create a new client base and basically just start from scratch. So it makes it very difficult for me to actually jump on board now that I'm older. Now you think about responsibilities and everything. So when I made the decision to move out to LA, I'm like, it didn't matter because I was young and it was there wasn't anything that was holding me back. And right now it's like, well, there's still nothing holding me back. I mean, I'm not married, I don't have any kids or anything like that, but I do have like a very well established business out here. And you know, to let it go, to start all over now that I'm an older man, it's, you know, these are the things that you think about as you
Yeah.
get older. You're like, what, you know,
You
where am I
built
going to
a
live?
certain standard by now, you know?
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what got me out here. It's really nothing. I just came out here just to try something new. And you know, the next thing you know, I've you know, years pass by and I'm still here. But um it still feels like I just moved to LA, just because there's no seasons out here. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like summer all year round. And I remember living in Chicago where, excuse me, you know, I would wait a whole year to go to the local swimming pool to just jump in. You know, like, when is it going to be summer already? You know, so here is like,
Yeah.
it flies so fast out here.
Hmm. So because it's summer all the time, so it's nice all the time. So I could
Yeah, I
see
mean,
that.
your winter in LA, your winter. I remember my very first winter here in LA, where I had just drove in to Los Angeles, and I was wearing some cargo shorts and a t-shirt. You know, driving from LA, because I mean, from Chicago, I drove straight through. I didn't stop at motels or hotels or anything. I just came on. I just took a couple of rest areas, put a pumped fuel, pumped gas, came out here. And when I got here, it was California winter over here. And I pulled into the gas station. I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts, and it was about 50 degrees, maybe 48, 49. So to
Okay.
us, that's nice, right? To us
Yeah.
Chicagoans, that's,
Yeah, like right now, that's what we have right now. Right now it's nice, but it's that little cold chill. That's it.
yeah. So I go into the gas station, and the attendant told me, he's like, dude, you're gonna get sick. It's like, aren't you cold? And I'm like, I'm from Chicago, man. And he's like, oh, okay, never mind. You know, this is cold. But yeah, that's a brief story. And you know,
Nice,
there's a whole lot,
nice.
but but yeah, so that's what's happening, Ruby.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So nice to hear that you are established, that you did move out there and did find, I don't know, whatever it was that you were looking for, while at the same time, making a name for yourself, doing something for other people. Real estate is a very feel good type industry, because you help a lot of people, go into their first homes. A lot of investors buying their first investment, or their third, or their fourth, whatever it is. So I feel like real estate is one of those favorite investments that people have. So what were you a realtor before here in Chicago, or did you build it out
Uh,
in California?
I built it here in California, and it was something that it wasn't planned. Also, it was like one of
Hmm.
those things where things started falling into place. I actually got into real estate by meeting a guy at a sports bar, and we were watching a basketball game. And I'm very social, so I talked to everybody. You know, hey, how's it going? You know, who you rooting for? Blah blah blah. And the Bulls were playing at the time, so I you know, I'm like, that's my team. You know, blah blah blah. Uh, so we just started talking about you know, um, business. And I actually initiated the conversation because I saw the wristwatch that he was wearing, and I was like, wow, that's a very nice watch. And although this person was younger than me, you know, I didn't know much about, you know, the fancy stuff or anything like that, because, you know, where I grew up in Chicago, it was, you know, watches were, to me, were Timex and Casios,
Mm,
and Citizen was an expensive watch, you know? but he was wearing a very expensive watch, and I didn't know what it was because it wasn't even a Rolex. It was they call AP watch, and those are more expensive. And he laughed at me, and he was like, "Oh, you like this watch? You know, this is about $130,000 watch." And I didn't believe him. I'm like, "No way, that's a nice watch." But I was thinking expensive, maybe $500. But again, I didn't know. I didn't know anything about that stuff.
Yeah.
And started talking about it, and I asked him what he did, and he took me outside and he showed me his car and his wristwatch, and I'm like, wow, okay, so I believe it then. And he told me that he liked my personality, and he offered me a job. He said, come work for me tomorrow. And he had a real estate company. That's how I got into it, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know, you know, if it was going to be for me or anything. Yeah, I just jumped on the wagon and I said, all right, let's do it. And my first deal happened maybe about a couple of months into it, my first real estate deal. And I was super excited. I got a really, really big check the first time. But I learned how to do the real estate market after the crash. But prior to that, I learned how to do real estate the easy way, where you didn't really know anything. Everything was so simple. Uh, but the crash happened, and that's what actually got me as far as this is how it's done. This is what you look for. This is how you create income. Because with this person, I was taught how to do, just whoever wants to buy a house, it's a done deal. And that was the wrong way to learn real estate, but that's how I got into it. But a lot of people in the industry at that time, prior to the crash, there was a lot of people that were into it, doing it, but they were in the same boat, didn't know how to do it, how to run the business. And the company that I was in, where this guy owned, when the crash happened, he owned many real estate companies that needed to pull the plug because there was just nothing happening. And I just stayed into it. I stayed in the market, and it's even today, the market is amazing, but it's still a roller coaster ride. You have to do your work. You have to do your lead generation. You have to talk to people. You have to do a lot of things, and listen to the client, listen to their needs. That's number one, is how do I find your need and meet the need? And because there's a lot of people that look at homes as far as, I want a house to live there forever. But now it's like, if you're thinking business wise, okay, what's your goal? You want to have a house, but what's your goal going to be in the next 5 to 10 years? Because years ago, people would buy a house and they would live there pretty much forever. Now it's like people are switching homes every 7-10 years. I want something newer. I need to remodel my home and so forth. But now when I speak with clients, is all about the investment that you're doing. Yes, you're buying this house, and yes, I'm going to put you in a 5-10 year game plan of what we're going to do in a couple years, because it's about building relationships. So if I give you my knowledge on how you're going to build wealth, how do you create more, turn your $20 into $50 into $100, is you have to listen to the plan, and you have to be willing to take that jump and trust me that I will get you there. There's no crystal ball that's going to tell us, hey, if you do this, it's going to guarantee. There's no guarantees in business, but most, if not all, billionaires have real estate investments, because that is, yes, the most safest, and there's always going to be a need for someone living somewhere. So for the renters that are planning on to investments, one of the things I always tell people, where I work with first time buyers, I work with investors, I work with developers, I work with so many different types of avenues. It's not just, certain pockets of real estate. We do it all. My team and I, we do everything from that. If you're barely having enough money to come up for a down payment, we work with everybody. We don't cherry pick with, certain people. And I guess that's one of the reasons why we've been able to be successful is, we don't hand pick who we want to work with. Within industries, it's very competitive. And, it's just basically teaching them and holding their hands and asking questions from day one. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get there. This is what I need from you. So for first timers, you have to make some sacrifices, especially if there's, if you're putting in your piggy bank each month, a little bit here, a little bit there. You have to make those sacrifices from, if you're a Starbucks drinker, that's about $7 a cup, each day, so if you add that at the end of the week, and then you add that at the end of the month, and then you times that by 12, how much are you spending annually on stuff that you can make at home, right? Dinners and things, like I said earlier, find the need, meet the need. So if I want this, my question to me is, do I need it? So do you need those, Louis Vuitton bags? Do you need those, high heels that cost a lot of money? If your plan is to invest in real estate, whether you're with someone, your wife or your husband, or if you're a single person, these are the decisions that you have to get there, because there's a lot of heavy hitters on the market, where they can just buy a block full of properties, cash, no questions asked. But, some of these people have been, born into this field where they have this money from, a generation. And for a lot of us that we're building initially, this is our first time. This is going to be my family's very first house. We're all putting money together, which is the larger population of people. We have to start with the coffees and the purses that we love, and stuff that they're really nice and fancy and all. But really, that's a depreciation versus an appreciation for a house. Just like a car, you can buy a car and as soon as you pull it off the lot, it's not worth what it was 5 minutes ago. So
Yeah. And that's only temporary. It's not like we're saying, like you said, we all need to make some sacrifices. You're going to do all those things. But in the meantime, to get you to meet your goal, those are ways that you can go about exchanging one investment per se, because, those are really not investments. They're just luxuries that we all like. It doesn't mean, no, you can have them. It just means that if you want to move faster, you could grab that additional money and put it towards your goals to get you there by, your goal date or whatever you specified.
right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, investments. Like, why do people go to school? The same reason. They're investing in themselves. I want to invest in myself for an education, for a better job that's going to offer me more, and other people don't have that luxury. Other people have to just jump into a job because of the needs, XYZ, we need an apartment or we need a house, and there's no time to go to school. We just have bills. So you have to find a way where you can put, even if it's a little bit, you're still putting something away, and have a plan for it. You have to plan for something, because otherwise, if you're just saving money and there's no plans to it, that's pretty much money in dead water. You're not doing anything with it. And the next thing you know is that something is going to happen, and you're going to pull that money off to take care of that emergency. And then now you have to start from scratch as well. So real estate, the market, investing, things like that in that nature. It's a very important thing to have a plan in place. Goal, just like you have a goal to go and go to school and finish school. That's the goal, right? You have a timeline. So write your goal down on paper, put a timeline by this date. This is where I'm supposed to have complete my goal. But in between, what is my plan of action? Because a plan is a plan, but if there's no action involved into it, then you're not going to get there.
Yep.
And these are the things that I've learned from a lot of the very wealthy investors and developers that I've worked with throughout the years. You pick their brain, you get to speak with them continuously and hang out with them. And it's always about business. They're always talking about how I'm going to make more on the next investment. What do I need to do right now? So they're always, their brains are always, ticking, what we're going to do. On social times, we're having a drink and we're always talking about business and then pleasure and then business back to business because, they got there by doing this. And once you get there, it becomes a not a job, but it's like a hobby
It is
now.
a
Like,
job.
okay.
But you know what? I think everybody's like that though, because if you think about it, everybody talks about their job. So I think it's just perceived differently because it's a different, people are not exposed to that kind of stuff. But if it's like a bunch of clicks, right? If you grab nurses, guess what they're going to do? At the end of their shift, they're going to talk about their kids and yada, yada, yada. But then they're going to be talking about all those lives they saved. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's all the same. Everybody just, I don't know if it's pride, if it's, just like, this is who I am. This is all I eat, breathe, and live, So every time, like, I'm guilty of thinking, like, people don't do this, like, because I feel like I'm constantly talking about my business. I'm constantly talking about what I have going on. But then when you listen to other people, everybody's the same way, But I think it's great that you are interacting and you are, bringing yourself to that level. How is the market right now, the real estate market?
So we have, what everything at this time we're dealing with the COVID-19, the coronavirus, and there's a lot of people that get scared. Like, the market right now, it's hot. It's super hot. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of sellers. I'm sorry. There's a shortage amount of sellers, right? But there's a lot of buyers out there. So there's not a lot of inventory. However, people are spending ridiculous amount of money on a home because there's not a lot of homes available, right?
Mm.
So right now, it's an equal balance between buyers and sellers. Is it a seller's market? Yes, it is. Is it a buyer's market? Yes, it is as well. Why? How is that possible? It's usually just one-sided, and then once there's, the prices drop, which is what I hear consistently, especially right now. The prices haven't dropped. In fact, there was an article. Last night or the day before, I forgot what day it was, but I was reading it, and it said that the California market, real estate market, has slashed their prices on housing, and I'm like, that's inaccurate because this is what I do every day. I work about 60 to 70 hours a week, and I'm always on my phone. This is my business, and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, or at least not in my market, not in my competitors' market. The market is very strong right now. So people always say, or always ask me, I'm waiting until the prices drop so I can buy a house. And that's something consistently that I hear all the time. But, I've had buyers who've told me this a few years ago. I'm going to wait. I found them a very nice place at a very reasonable price, and they said, no, I'm going to wait until a couple years till the prices drop. Well, a couple years been passed, and now that house is worth about $200,000-$300,000 more than you would have bought it back then. And now you want to buy a house at that price that we originally were at, but we're not there anymore. We're not there anymore. So where are we today is the houses are extremely expensive, and depending on markets as well. Over here in California, the average house is about $600,000. And we're not talking about, in a great neighborhood. We're not talking about a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, swimming pool. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, 890 square feet with, 1-car garage, and not a great neighborhood and it's a house that needs a lot of work. So people fight over those homes, the market is hot. So sellers market, because the prices are extremely high and a seller gets what they ask for. They get more of what they ask for. And then it's a buyer's market because we're still with low rates. We're still in the high 3s and in the 4s right now, where you can buy a house and still be able to reduce the principal balance so you can build more equity. And then you get the people who are very hard-headed and saying, I'm gonna wait to buy a house. When is the right time to buy a house? It's always a right time to buy, especially if you're under 5% interest rate. Because if the housing market does drop, as many people say it will, it comes in patterns. Real estate market is a roller coaster ride. Yes, it's going to adjust. Yes, it's going to drop down a little bit. It's not going to be like back in 2008 or 2007 where it was completely trashed. But if it does drop, then my question to the buyers that ask me, I'm going to wait until, or tell me that I'm going to wait until the housing market drops so I can buy. My question to them is, do you have enough capital saved to take advantage of that? Because if you don't, if you're still, taking advantage of all these, vacations and parties and things that you throw your money away that doesn't come back in an investment way, you're going to be battling with all the investors, because in the last crash, a lot of my investors, I sold them blocks and blocks and blocks of properties. So all these properties that you see, a lot of them have their, LLCs, or they, most of these investors don't even live here in California. They live out in Texas, or they live out in Florida, and but they have about 15, 20 properties, because they know that people are paying top dollar in rent over here. So if you are going to wait until the market drops for you to buy the house, then your number one competition is going to be the investor. The investor that is not going to have a loan contingency, the investor that does not need to look at the house, the investor that does not need to look at it and do an inspection, his thing is going to be like, I don't care. I'll take the house the way it is, all cash, and we close in 12 days. That's who you're fighting against. And they're not even going to negotiate as far as, let's try to get it cheaper. Yeah, you have your first time investors that will jump into that, that see a little too many TV shows and think they know how to do investments. It's always good to educate yourself outside of just, watching TV shows, because all that, like I said, I've been on TV shows, where they inflate numbers. A lot of the things is make it more appealing for the viewer, right? Because their job is to get people to watch their show, and there's a lot of things that are missing from the shows, but where I'm getting at is save your money, have your money, and make sure that if you're going to be one of those players at that time, is that you have your money to play with. Otherwise, you're not going to stand a chance against these investors, because again, they're heavy hitter investors that are going to, just not just buy one, they're going to buy a lot of properties. And then, there's still going to be a need for housing. So you're going to stay as a renter, and you're going to be paying, like right now, like people are paying $3,500 a month for a crappy home that needs a lot of work. Very small home, and then you have the other really nice properties that have been fixed. People are spending $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month on rentals because people can afford it. There's a lot of money out here in Los Angeles. How they get that money, I want to know. Because
Yes,
again, we all want to get there.
everybody's like, yes, we're trying to get there. Yeah.
But it's baby steps, and how we get there is by always think of it as if I'm going to buy a house, if I'm going to invest in my very first house that I saved a lot of money into and a lot of sweat and tears into it, but it's my house. Your house is not going to be your forever house, your first home, that is. So whatever it is, wherever you get it. Just because it's yours, and no one's going to tell you to turn the music down. No one's going to tell you that, hey, I'm going to raise a rent next year. No one's going to tell you there's only 2 people that are allowed to live in this house. Because once it's yours, it's yours. You can do whatever the heck you want to do. And you have people that are scared to make that jump. A lot of people are scared, well, I don't know, this is for real now. I'm feel more safe living in an apartment because, I can afford it and I have a decent job. It's the same thing when you own a house. The only difference is that you don't have a landlord, right? A landlord that's going to tell you. And if you happen to lose your job when you have a home, how am I going to make the mortgage payments? Is the question. Well, my question to you is, how are you going to make your rent? Because if you're renting somewhere, you have 30 days or 60 days, depending on, your situation in that property. But if you lose your job, you're going to be in the same situation you are as you own a home versus renting. It's the same thing, the same position. The only difference is that where you're renting, your landlord is going to say, you're only allowed 2 people to live in this house. You're not allowed to sublease. You're not allowed to do a lot of things. Whether it's now, if it's your house, hey, if you lost your job, yeah, I can rent out one of the rooms in my house. I can rent out, or I can have people live in my house and I can charge them. It's your house. You can do whatever the heck you want to do. So you're in a better position owning your home if you lose your job, as opposed to renting a house and losing or renting an apartment and losing your job. And a lot of times people don't view it that way. And it's one of my things that my job for me is educating people on, hey, let's look at different points of view, because I'm seeing yours and I'm listening to what you're telling me, what you're asking me, and what your fears are. Well, let me find the solution to those fears. Let me find solutions. And at the end of the day, I'm not here to push you to do anything. My job is to give you all the information that you need and building relationships. I don't get every seller. I don't get every buyer, but eventually they come back. And I've had that where people decided to use other brokers because of family or because, they just wanted to go a different route. They've come back because, I have love for this field I'm in, and my job is to make your wealth grow. And whether you use me or you go somewhere else, I'm still going to answer your phone call. I'm still going to answer your text message, because I'm giving you the information that you need to educate yourself on how to handle this business that is real estate, because it's a business, and it's high stakes, and no one plays around in real estate. People lose a lot of money doing the wrong things on like a lot of the shows right now are, fix and flips and stuff. And they feel like buying a property that they see the TV shows where they buy it at a price, and then they make like $200,000-$300,000 of walking away money. But like I said earlier, there's a lot of in-betweens that you don't see. And that's where I say people will end up losing money, because you end up buying a house where, you're way over, you bought this house, it was extremely expensive. Now, how much are we going to spend on rehabbing? The materials and the labor out here in Los Angeles is very expensive. So what our labor costs and our materials costs in Los Angeles is what a house is going to cost you in Chicago. So,
Oh. Well, thank you so much for all this information. Oh my God, I have more questions for you, but I didn't want to stop you because I was like, oh, he just answered my next question. He just answered my next question. So thank you. So how would you like to, if any, I'm hearing you loud and clear, that if you want to buy a house, but you're on the fence because you just don't know when the right time is. You're basically saying the time is now. If you feel it in your heart to be a homeowner, to be an investor, to get into the market, why wait and keep throwing your money away? If you're going to look at one side of the real estate perspective, look at the other side as well too, because you can't get so pigeonholed into one aspect of it, because if you're waiting for the market to go down, you're going to be fighting people that have the means and the resources to come and sweep it off from you. So instead of waiting and waiting and waiting, just make the move and make the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're waiting, fine. I'm not going to tell you or make you not wait. It's your decision. You tell me what's better for you, because if you're going to wait a year or 2 years, let's just say your rent is $1,000, $12,000 at the end of the year, $24,000 at 2 years. $24,000 pays someone else's rent. If you had your house, no matter what it was, you've not only put that into your property, into your, what do you call it? Into your principal. You've built also equity on, depending on what's going on in the real estate market. It's your savings account, your mortgage. It's your savings account. One of your savings account is each month that you pay, it's going towards your house. It's going towards your house. So you're going to throw away $24,000 while you think about it, paying someone else's rent, or while you buy it, you can already a year or 2 years into it, you didn't throw your money away. You have it in there somewhere, it's somewhere in your mortgage, and you can pull that out. If you're going to refinance, you can pull that out and reinvest it and reinvest it and reinvest it and reinvest it. And that's when you have people that have tons of properties, where if they were able to do it. And like I'm telling you, the people in my team, I have them, with goals. A goal is to buy a property every 5 years. That's the goal. Every 5 years, you should have already saved enough money with what you make. You should have put some money away and reinvested. It doesn't matter if you're buying out in Arizona, or you're buying out in Florida or in Chicago or somewhere else. It doesn't matter, as long as you're investing it with as little as possible, and have someone else, renters, cover all your mortgage. And it's not always like that in every case, or at least cover at least 90% of your mortgage, where you come up with the additional 10%, but at the same time you're investing in yourself. And that's how a lot of these investors, make extremely enormous amount of money, where they become a heavy hitter on the market, where they can just jump in and say, hey, Ruby, I want to buy your house. I don't care about, what it looks like. I don't care, I'm going to battle all these other buyers that are looking to buy your house, because all these guys are um, financing. I'm not financing, Ruby. I'm buying your house straight off right now, cash, and you're gonna most likely sell it to me because I don't have any ands, ifs, or buts. I'm coming at you directly with the money that you want if I really love the place. But there's a lot of I mean, this conversation could go on,
Mm-hmm.
and go on,
Yes,
a lot
yes.
of things, but to answer your questions, yeah, absolutely. I think the time is now to buy real estate. I think it's always going to be a great time to buy. Um, Keep an eye on the interest rate if you're a buyer, because if the prices go down on real estate and the interest rates skyrocket, 8%, 12%, 25%, like it was years ago, um, then you're really not going to pay down your principal balance, even if your principal balance is $100,000. These are the things that you look at: principal balance and interest. What am I looking at? Like your credit card bills, right? Certain people have certain credit cards that they don't like using because of the high interest rate, right? I'm not going to use this credit card because it's too high in interest. It's the same thing with the house. You want to buy a house with 19% interest? Absolutely not, because you're never going to pay it down. So we are under 5%. We are under 4%. Buy a house right now if you can, and there's programs out there. Get with your loan officer, your local loan officer that knows the market, someone that is in it, full time. They'll tell you this is the time, because you're 3%. There's programs out there that are no money down. You just have to pay a little higher interest rate, but that's fine as long as you get in the door. That's number one. Get in the door, and everything else, once you get in the door, you can figure it out as you go. But you are saving money as soon as you buy that house. So get out there and do it. Um, if you have questions, always feel free to reach out to me or Ruby, and we'll get you guys where you need to be. You just have to make that leap, jump into it, and get it done, because people do it, and people do it consistently. And once those first-time buyers buy the home, they've always told me, you know what? I don't know, Jimmy, why I was so scared to do it.
Mm.
It was thing that we did, so don't be scared. Save your money, buy the house, and then in a year or 2 years from now, you're going to be extremely happy that you did, and you're going to certainly have a lot more money than you did today, for sure.
Yes, yes, I agree. Agreed. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This brings us to the closing for today's topic on real estate.
Sure.
Again, thank you for everything that you just dropped for us. You made it very super easy for me. I didn't even have to ask the questions. So I hope that anyone that's looking to buy in California has, and if you have any questions, please do reach out to Jimmy. As always, we are here to help you with any of your financial questions. Don't forget to share our social medias. We do have a raffle going on right now. I have not updated the numbers, but I will go ahead and post it sometime this week. But if you have any questions, please do reach out to us. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful monthly. Jimmy, thank you, and we will talk soon.
You guys, don't forget to share.
Yes, yes, yes. Share, like, so see, you listen.
Don't
Thank you,
forget to
guys.
share.
Yes, yes. Bye.
Follow us on social media, and ask questions. There's guys, just continue asking as many questions as you guys want. We're going to be here to help out and for financial wealth. So hit us up. We'll be more than happy to talk to you guys. So see you guys later from Los Angeles. And out to Ruby, any questions, and we'll go from there. So thank you again for your time, and I will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.